Do the Los Angeles Clippers have enough for James Harden? We'll talk about that and more next on Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm Keith Pompey, co-host of Locked On 76ers. Thanks for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more right now. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. And today we got my man John Mitchell back in the building. What's up, Jay Mitch? How you doing, brother?
Keith, I'm good, man. How are things out in Fort Collins?
They're cool. I went to a sports bar last night to watch the Redskins, and I'm like, yo, they out here looking like the Giants. In that game. They were looking a little bad in the beginning, but it was cool. It was cool.
It somewhat detracts from what the Eagles just did, struggling to beat that team in overtime, but that's a different story.
Yeah, things happen. You know how it is, week to week, stuff like that. But, y'all don't want to hear about that. Y'all want to hear about the 76ers, and we have some things to talk about, a lot of things to talk about, actually. The first segment, we're going to talk about the Clippers. I mean, do the Clippers have enough? Right now, John, what's happening is that the Clippers are trying to go work with teams so they can acquire pick they can move pick swaps to the Sixers. And for you guys don't know, a pick swap is like, you have a lot of times it could be the best of two picks. Like, let's say if the Sixers have the 7th pick and someone else has the 3rd pick, well, you have the right to swap those picks, things like that. So, and that's what they're trying to acquire to get. I mean, that's what they're trying to acquire from teams that enable them to get James Harden. Now, the Sixers are basically saying that might not be good enough. Like, if you give us a good one, I mean, I talked to sources, they like, if they give us a good one, and yeah, you may, but most likely it's not moving the needle. What is in the source confirmed, what the Sixers want is they want Terrence Mann and first-round picks as part of a package. That's what the source told me, right? So we'll talk about that. We'll break that down. Then we'll also talk about Joel Embiid and Team USA. And then there was another topic that you wanted to talk about.
Udoka.
Yeah, talk about
Ime. Some of the comments about Ime Udoka.
That's the elephant in the room. So we'll talk about that. But look, Mitch, I'm gonna ask you, if you're the Sixers, are pick swaps good enough? I mean, because you look at it as, you get James Harden, if you get rid of him, you're probably going to get rid of, and it hasn't been a distraction as of yet. Now, he hasn't been scrimmaging yet. He hasn't been doing anything.
Right.
Which, you wonder, like, why? Is he out of shape? What's the deal? And why is he out of shape? So my thing, or is it like they don't plan on keeping him? One of those type things.
Yeah.
So my thing is, are pick swaps enough, man, just to get rid of this problem, or what could be an expected problem?
Well, short term, if they want to get rid of him, it might be enough. What people, Moore keeps saying he wants to get value for him, and I understand that that's his job as president of basketball operations, general manager, whatever his title is. He's got to get some sort of value for a guy who, is a Hall of Fame player, but it's teams are looking forward now. It's kind of like he's almost like an NFL running back in this situation where you award him for what he's done, but what does he have left in the tank? I don't know what James has left in the tank. I do know that I think in this trade, often you don't get value for what is your perceived value. James Harden is just not viewed around the league as a guy who has long range value, as a guy who's going to, you're talking about putting him on a roster with Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. You would think that is, a bunch of California guys. Could they not be happier playing for the Clippers? But teams are questioning whether or not Harden is worth it. And basically, when Morey went to the cupboard and tried to make those trades over summer, he kind of found out. Without saying that people are just not interested in your commodity. They're not. They're not. They're not going to let you just raid them for a guy who is no longer the player that he once was. And that's what we're talking about with James. So I think the Sixers, we'll see how hard the Clippers are working to make that deal happen. It's out there. I do like Terrence Mann. He's a young player, athletic, better defender. But if you look at kind of the pecking order of this happened, like just in the Eastern Conference now, you got Damian Lillard now in Milwaukee. You got Drew Holiday, a guy we were supposed, and we've had the 76ers have had their names connected to both players previously. It's a big fall off to have to resort to Terrence Mann when you were looking at a much higher echelon of player than they're currently looking at now. So, but the pick swap thing is just kind of like, it's kind of like you would think that a player of a lower caliber would be involved in that than a guy who is, give us something tangible. Give the 76ers something really tangible, not a pick swap.
Yeah, I'm with you with that one. But the thing is, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't stop with Terrence Mann. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is like let's just say if the Sixers got the deal, and I wouldn't be surprised if they would use the draft picks to bring in somebody else too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I just wouldn't be surprised with that. I mean, they're always great assets to have. And see, the problem is right now, when you look at this, there's been a lot of guards, a lot of players who does not have James Harden's stature, who teams got multiple picks for, first round picks for him.
Right.
So unfortunately for the Clippers, it seems like that becomes the going rate, right? It's like you got to have these picks. Now, the problem with the Clippers picks are they're not exactly enticing picks. That's the one thing people don't talk about.
Right.
Because the Clippers, they're a team that's always going to be in the playoffs.
And if they stay healthy, if
they stay healthy. So with that being said, it's like, what are you going to get? Late first round picks? You know what I mean? Like they want picks. They want like lottery picks or something that a team can work with. Late first rounders tend to, now I hate to say this, but late first rounders, unless you turn a lot of heads, you're destined to be in the G League your rookie year. You know what I mean? So I can see where they're coming from. But at the same time, it doesn't seem like the Clippers are willing to give up Terrence Mann. Now, again, you don't know how long this thing could drag out, and both sides could, like the Sixers could say, hey, we'll take whatever you want. The Clippers will say, hey, we'll give you whatever you want.
Yeah.
Depending on how desperate both squads become. But, that's a nice update for people to talk about now. But when we get right back after this commercial break, we'll talk about what Ime Udoka basically said. Snapping into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers could get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Now, what you need to do, y'all, for real, you need to visit FanDuel.com and include money lines, props, etc. around your team. So I'm telling you, that's my advice to you. So do it today, people. Definitely do it today. All right, John. So you remember back in the day, I wrote an article where I talked to multiple sources, and they all said expected James to go to Houston. Like that was just a big expectation, right?
Right.
They said James was going to go to Houston. That was the major expectation. And then all of a sudden, he wasn't, right? And the reason why he wasn't, sources said that it was because Fred VanVleet became a free agent. And when Fred became a free agent, it was when he opted out, it became, Ime Udoka was kind of sort of like him. You know, people had that, like source said, you know, this and that, but they never had Ime on a record saying it.
Right.
Now, Stephen A., we both know Stephen A. Smith, and Stephen A. had a report where it said that, you know, when Ime had a conversation with James, and James talked about he wanted to be win a scoring title.
Right.
And, you know, I don't think that kind of like, according to that didn't fly well with Ime. And then next thing you know, it didn't work out. But Ime came out and said he just felt like Fred was a better fit. He came out on the record and said that. What's your thoughts on this whole situation?
Well, you know, Ime is a guy who is familiar with James. You know, last time we saw Ime, he turned that before the situation with the coaches, and that thing just went extremely south. You know, he turned that situation around in Boston, got that team playing on the right page to the point where they took them to the Eastern Conference, to the NBA Finals. Ime knows that he has to make prudent decisions right now moving forward because of his track record. I think he's being very honest in saying, you know, because he emphasized that this is about team fit. This is about team fit. And basically when he says that, you know, you can translate it as saying that, you know, if, you know, we're just not interested in James. We're not interested if what Stephen A. said is true. And I tend to believe, you know, Stephen A. has conversations with everybody. You know, if you have a guy who's 34 years old and he's talking about coming to a rebuilding team, and his emphasis is just on leading the league in scoring, which is something he's capable of doing, but what purpose does that serve for team building, for roster building, for cultivating a young team that does have some talent on it, that are not really going to be interested in watching a guy, you know, who's in NBA terms approaching Social Security years. You know, they're not going to be concerned about watching him leading them in scoring. They're going to be concerned about building that roster and getting back to the playoffs and cultivating some of the young talent they have. And I think that's what Ime Udoka was saying in so many words. You know, that it's we don't need him. You know, we don't need somebody to come in here and lead the team in scoring. A guy like Fred VanVleet, a guy who can play off the ball, is, you know, will move without the ball, is a better fit for a young roster with wing players and guards like Houston is heavy on, who need the ball to create. So I think it's it just shows you how difficult it is to move him, and a guy who's familiar with James Harden is basically telling you in so many words, you know, that this is what the market looks like for him right now.
Yeah. I mean, and that's true. I mean, that's true. You know, and the thing is, like, a lot of people take when Stephen A. says stuff, some people take shots at it. Like,
Right.
I kind of believe that one, or that it could have happened. I mean, I think both could be true. You know what I mean? Now, again, some people like, well, he would have been tampering. Well, come on, man. Everybody tampers nowadays.
Right.
You have
Right.
conversations like, you know, was it one of those things where they met in the office? I mean, where they like, how did it go down? No, like,
Right.
here's the deal. They know each other. Ime was an assistant on the Brooklyn Nets when Harden was there. They know things, and that's true. Like, Harden wants basketball freedom. That's what he said he wanted this year.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to go back to being a facilitator, a point. He wanted to be able to go out there and get buckets, do what he could do.
Yeah.
Right? So if a guy wants that, but then you got a guy who like Fred VanVleet, who's more of a facilitator, who's a really good defender,
Mm-hmm.
he's like that. He is a better fit over a guy who's going to want to come in there and jack up shots. So, you know what I mean? I'm not. Some people are like, hey, nah. Like, I don't know. I'm not hating on the report, but I just think both is true, and both make sense, honestly, to me.
Yeah, and and people can't mock. Sometimes they get into the the character that Stephen A is sometimes, but you can't. The brother works hard. We've all worked alongside him, and he has sources, and he can look into his phone and get anybody he wants to. So. I'm not going to dismiss, knowing Stephen, I'm not going to dismiss what he says about that report. I don't think we can dismiss it outright. But it's if you look at it, it makes sense. If you just put Fred VanVleet and James side by side, and then say, look, here's a Rockets, where's the fit? Again, here's a guy whose goal is to lead the league in scoring. It's a team game. It's not a 100-meter sprint. You can't just come out here and say, yeah, this is what, first of all, you're 34 years old. You're not 28 years old. So, having you lead the league in scoring just would detract from so many other things, from roster building. You led the league in assists last year. That's kind of where you are now. That's, if you are that facilitator, which we all know that you can do, you would want to augment that moving forward if you expect to stay in the league. I just, with James is just so all over the place. You just never know what's coming next out of his mouth. But right now, it's just like he's just, hey, I'm just having a good time. I've made $300 million in my career. I just want to go somewhere and have fun. Well, those days are over, man.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. I can't argue that. Now, when we get back after this break, Joel Embiid is about to have fun, bro. This summer. I shouldn't say about, because he has to do this season and it could be fun for him too, but he's going to play for Team USA this summer in the Paris Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to be the latest version of the Dream Team, right? With all these players, and Joel's going to be a part of it. So, we'll talk about that, touch on that. Think, he had opportunities to play for Cameroon. Now, I said that it would have been best for him to do that, right?
I agree.
But then he also had France. So we'll talk about all that when we get right back. Let's talk about Bird Dogs. Bird Dog stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thighs and legs, giving you a truly sculpted look. Bird Dogs use anti-stick switching fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long, right? So I don't have any Bird Dogs on me. Like, I'm in this hotel room and stuff like that, and I didn't pack any. But I'm telling you, y'all, they're very comfortable. It's one of those things where you have, and you're like, wow, I wish they made these back in the day. Because they're that comfortable, Mitch. I'm telling you.
You're young enough to keep wearing them, brother.
Yeah, okay. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA or enter the promo code LockedOnNBA at checkout for a free Bird Dog water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA for a free water bottle at checkout. You don't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. Yes, they are that comfortable, people. That comfortable. So, Mitch, what's your thoughts on it, man? Like, we talked about it. We talked about it. It's one of those things where, Cameroon would have been nice. And when you talk to Joel comes out and says, I really wanted to play for my home country, but I wanted to play in the Olympics, right? I'm paraphrasing.
Mhm.
He also talked about his son being an American
Right.
and all this stuff, and he does a lot of things for family. But the thing that gets me is, I mean, the thing that stands out to me, and I guess he's right that he said, but he wants to play in the Olympics. The Cameroon has a great chance of making the Olympics, the qualifying for it.
Yeah.
He did not qualify yet. So, it's one of these things. Do you like hold out hope? And he had an October 10th deadline by France to make a decision. So that kind of sped up the process a little bit, right? So do you like that sped up the process with France, United States, and Cameroon? But then it's one of those things, if you say to France, okay, I'm not coming, and then all of a sudden you got the US like knowing deep down inside, if the Cameroon makes it, I'm not coming to play for y'all. I'm gonna go to my country. So like I felt like it would have been great for him to play for his country, but I can't blame him for not playing for his country if you don't even know if they're going to make the Olympics or not.
Yeah. But I think that's part of the challenge. I don't think he could find any more pride in playing for the country of his birth country, and leading them, into the medal rounds, place they've never been, which is place they probably never. When you associate the Olympics and medal rounds, you don't associate Cameroon with it. I think it would have been a great opportunity. I think it would have been an even greater story to see Embiid leading Cameroon into the medal rounds. I think that I'm not mad at Joel for making his decision. He's an independent thinker, and I think that I think he's very Americanized now. Like you said, his son is American. He's been here for years. He's doing all the American things that NBA players do, living on social media, doing all those things. But I also wouldn't be surprised if somebody in those NBA offices said, "Hey, man, look, we need some big bodies, and we get to international play. We just don't have the big bodies, and that's an issue." And after their dismissal this summer in the World Championships, I think that the NBA is like, "Hey, it's not as bad as it was the year when they said, okay, we're going to marshal up a dream team," but it is, a situation where they want to have all their I's dotted and their T's crossed right now, and don't want to go out there and have the embarrassment of the Olympics, potentially them not winning. Eventually it's going to happen again, but they just don't want it to be in France. And I get it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I tell you what, though, I kind of think that the United States needed him more than France did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you understand why I'm saying
do.
this?
Size.
Yeah, the size. Yeah, the French, man, they got a big lineup. They got
Yeah.
a big lineup. And, the U.S., especially after the World Cup now, I mean, the World Championships, it's kind of like one of those things where, you could look at it both ways. You can look at it and say, we didn't bring our best over here. We typically don't bring our best over here for the World Cup, right?
Right.
But what I keep saying cup, the World Championships.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like, when's the last time they had a legitimate big center like playing a lot of minutes like that, like dominating? And you need somebody that's going to go up against Rudy Gobert, go up against Wembanyama. You know what I mean? So like your first overall pick and Embiid, what, 7'2"? He says Joel Embiid says he's 6'11", 7 foot, but he's at 7'2".
I'm 5'4" if he's 6'11",
What'd you say?
I'm 5'4" if he's 6'11".
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? So that's where we are right there with that one. But John, it's like I think just recapping today what we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
The pick swaps doesn't move the needle for the Sixers.
No, it shouldn't.
Ime Udoka, basically clarified some things, but and it makes a lot of sense that
Mm-hmm.
James was going to go there, and then Ime felt like Fred VanVleet was a better pick,
Right.
a better fit.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. And then Joel, you know what? It would have been nice for Joel to play for his home country, but
Right.
there's no guarantee that his home country was even going to make it to the Olympics. So he made a pretty good move.
It'd be interesting to see, if he does play on the inside, and that on that roster, he'll have to play on the inside. Will he do more of that with the Sixers?
Yeah, but I think he'll play on the inside, but don't get it twisted. He's gonna be stretching out, hitting them threes.
And so it went beyond. That's what the league has become now. So.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of it. That's part of it. That's part of it. I mean, and Wemby is what, from what I'm hearing, he's going to play the 4 this year.
Oh, is he really? Okay, Gobert.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm talking about in the NBA too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's playing the 4. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. He's their power forward. He's going to be their power forward. Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they look at him how athletic, look at his skill set.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then you look at the girth. I mean, he's one elbow away from going into the hospital. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, that's true.
Intensive care.
Yeah, so, he needs some protein. As talented as he is, he needs some protein shakes and ice cream.
Yeah, I know. But look, man, I want to thank you for joining the show. I want to thank y'all for listening. You can get this podcast wherever you get podcasts at, free and available. You can also check out the YouTube channel, Locked On 76ers YouTube. When you get on there, like the podcast, and also click the Liberty Bell to subscribe, right? When you subscribe, you also get notifications of when the next podcast comes out. I want to thank y'all for listening. Have a blessed day. Have a blessed weekend. Peace.
Peace.